Hi guys, welcome to Podiatry Practice Mastery. My name is Don Pelto. Thank you for all joining. We're going to go today over something called the 3-minute practice newsletter. And this is something that we've sent out to those that are on the list for the last few days. And it's something that we've been trying, kind of going through the process in our office. And I want to tell you a little bit about the backstory behind this. And we're going to have an opportunity at the end if anyone has any questions, as long as they don't if you have any questions during, you can type them underneath here. Really, the way this worked is I always saw the benefit of doing a newsletter for the office, but we never really had any staff or manpower or people power to get the newsletter done. And I wanted to try kind of an easy, simple way that people would actually look at. And we've considered doing like one of these mailers through Constant Contact. That's how we get a lot of them. And I don't know about you, but I get a lot of these and I just never look at them. They're just kind of overwhelming. I know, I think it's some of the podiatry organizations, the APMA, they have these newsletters. I think ACFAS, they might have like quarterly newsletters. Footnotes, I think, is one of them that we can send out. They're kind of more generic. I wanted to try something a little bit different to see how it would work without having to kind of have a marketing person or have someone write it all the time. I find that today people are reading a lot less and people aren't willing to watch something that's very long. That's why we went from doing like a 45-minute webinar to like a half hour, because no one wants to read anything and no one wants to watch anything. We're all kind of really busy. That's another reason for this. And I wanted it to be valuable. And so where patients can learn something or get something of value and have it real quick. And so what we did is we tried a newsletter, a video newsletter for the office, and it worked pretty well. And that's what I wanted to go through. But before I show you it, I want to go through kind of what the technology is. And it's really not overwhelming to do it. It's pretty easy. All you need is a computer with a webcam. That's most of our computers we have. If you don't have a webcam, you can get one for, $30. Google Slides is the one that I use, and I'll show you exactly how I make up those slides. Is Zoom or some way to record it? I find Zoom works pretty easy. There's another one I'm playing around with these days. It's called StreamYard. One of the benefits I like about Zoom is you can make this virtual background. If you've never played with this, I want to show you kind of what the difference is for mine, because you might be kind of interested. So I have a virtual background, and then there's no virtual background. Okay, so there's one with the background and without the background. And the background one, I think it works a little bit better, especially in the office. That's why I like recording it on Zoom. Some of these other ones, I would have to put up a green screen. And there are these green screens that you can put up behind you. And I might bug the other doctors in the office here by eventually putting up a green screen, but there's only so much room in this little office we have. And then you also need a YouTube account or some place to host it. You could input it, I guess, directly onto your blog, but you kind of need to host it somewhere. And that's where I think YouTube is the easiest. I'm going to go through the process quickly of how we develop these. The first thing that you have to do for developing this newsletter is you have to make some slides with content. So that's what I'm going to start with here. Let me just show you I'm going to share my screen so I can show you. I put some notes here. If you can see over here, we're going to talk about like the newsletter here. I'm going to send these links out afterwards, but there's a good webcam you might want on Amazon. Here's a link to Google Slides. The way to do the slides, here's an example of something that I use. And I do it basically on my browser when I'm in the office, and it pulls up basically something like this. This is the beginning of it. This is the first slide. And what you can do is you can just kind of edit it. So it comes up. Here's the one that we did in March 2021. Very easy slide. Westboro office virtual tour. And basically what this is, you can see this is my background and this is the text. So it has what we're going to talk about and things like that. And then I go step by step. You'll see my little bobblehead showing up in here when we're doing it on Zoom. And you go through the Westboro office, a little video replay of another interview thing that we did. And then this is a new product that we're carrying, the Eclipse foam roller. And then there was a lecture that was done as well. So this is how the newsletter is put together for March. Okay, this is the one, and we do this for every month. Okay, if you want to see where I actually edit the slides, I think I put them right here on my, basically it's on my desktop, and I say I have thumbnails for YouTube. And when you pull up the thumbnails, it's got all of the thumbnails that I'm kind of playing with at the time. And it's got like 600 slides now. So every time it takes a little bit longer. So a few of the other things I'm working on are like these courses, stuff on OnIFix. But if we go all the way down here, you'll get to the webinar. So these are the actual webinar slides. They look like this for March. And the way I do it with a virtual head, and I'll explain that in a second, there's a function on Zoom where you share, where you can move your own green screen kind of head around, and that's what I use for this one. That's why I do this. There might be some easier ways, but this is the way that's working best for me right now for making the slides. So I put the slides right here, and then you just edit them, you add the pictures, and it's very easy to do this newsletter. So that's the first step, is doing the slides, okay? Do it on whatever's kind of interesting to your patients. The next step I do is I record it on Zoom. So very much similar to what we're doing right now, I just hit the record button and I pull in the share screen. So if you click share screen, and you can pull in those slides, and you can share those slides as your background. So there's a function in Zoom where you click share screen, advanced, and then it says PowerPoint as a background, okay? And I'll send out these instructions afterwards, but basically you'll pull the PowerPoint in and show it as your background. So let me kind of give you guys an example of how that works here, okay? So if I pull in, I'm just gonna pull in any of these, and you can kind of see my background. So it's gonna pull in the PowerPoint as the background, and then you can see my little bobblehead here, okay? With this bobblehead, you can just kind of move it over anywhere that you want, and then you can slide through the slides, okay? So there are the slides right here, and you go from slide 1 to slide 2. Now, I don't like my head right there, so I'll move my head somewhere else, okay? Or I can move like where I'm standing. So this is how I exactly record it. And then I go right through the slides and I click through them. Okay, that's how you make the slides, and that's how you share the slides, okay? Like this, you just move wherever you need to go. So it takes a little practice on how to do it, but that's the easiest way to do it, to make it look like this. If you want to just share this, one other option is you can just share the slides, but what I didn't like about that, when I just shared the slides, is that it had my head just in the upper right-hand corner. That's all, that's where I was, and it had a really big slide. This way it shows your face a little bit more. So that's how you record it on the Zoom. Once again, I'll send these instructions out to you guys. It looks like it's really hard. It just takes a little playing around with it. And then the next thing, you have to kind of upload it to your YouTube account. That's pretty easy. You just have a YouTube account. I can show you guys. I'm going to share my screen again here, kind of walk you through it. So we'll share screen 2. If you go to your YouTube account, so here is my YouTube account. I'm going to pause the audio here. It's already paused. Basically, this is the YouTube account. There's 2. We have one for like mine, where I'm trying to, the whole purpose of this is people to go and download these books and then be added to a list that we can send emails to them personally, okay? So personal brand building, that's what this one is. When we do them with the office, I upload them right here just to not overclutter our office YouTube. With that, you can put them in both. That's no big deal. You usually should modify one a little bit, otherwise you might get dinged by YouTube. And then to add it, all you really do is you just create and you do video upload. And when that happens, it's going to go, you pull into the Creator Studio, and this is pretty easy. You have to select the file you want to input in here. So I'll just pick any file for you guys to see. There was one I did recently this morning. It was an Ask Me one. It's an Ask Dr. Pelto video. So for my personal Dr. Pelto one, if people ask questions, I put them on here. This description, this can be added automatically into your YouTube. This pulls up the same thing every time, and then I just change the description. Then you go down, you can add it to the playlist. So for most of mine, I just, like this one, like the practice newsletter, I'll do patient resources. But for this other one I was doing on the Ask Dr. Pelto, I click this one. So it'll add it to that proper playlist, okay? You can add tags if you want. It's pretty easy to do this. These are things that you can look on YouTube how to do. and you can monetize it, yes or no, if you want to monetize it. And then the video elements, once it's uploaded completely, then you can add like end screen and cards, and we can kind of talk about that's a little bit beyond what we're talking about for this little newsletter. These are little 3-minute newsletters, okay? And it pulls it up. And these are all the other videos that I have here. So this is a draft. I don't really want that one, so I can delete that. Okay, I understand I'm going to delete it forever. So this is an example of the one that we just did in March. This is what it looks like. So it's going to, here are the resources discussed in the video. This is the webinar I talked about ugly and ingrown toenails, and another lecture that was given. And here's the link for that. So people, when they look at it, they'll see all this stuff underneath it. It's public. And then it's in this list of patient resources, so it automatically populates. One thing about the thumbnails, the neat thing about using Google Slides is that you can take these slides. If you go into the upper left-hand corner where it says File, you can do download and download a JPEG. That's the actual image. And then when you download that image for March 2021, then what you do is you replace the ones that it automatically pulls in from the video. And you just here, you click here and you do change, and you can upload that new JPEG for a thumbnail. It just makes everything look more consistent on your site. And that's how you kind of start with building these. And the neat thing is if you look at the metrics of these newsletters, so this is, I think, the third one we've done. So here's the one from March. We have 1,279 views, and then 6 comments, and then 14 likes. The one before that was from February. We have 1,200 views and likes. And then here's, we talked before about webinars. Here's one of the webinars. We have 383 views. So I think people, like a webinar is like an hour long. People just aren't willing to watch that. But a little 3-minute newsletter, and that's how we kind of advertise it, is the 3-minute newsletter. So that's how you upload it onto YouTube, okay? And then the last process is you actually send it out to your list. There's a lot of different ways you can send it out to your list. We use in our office something called Athena, and it has these 2 functions. One function is a little text message that goes out to our patients. So it says here, watch our 3-minute video for March 2021, and they basically click on that link, and that'll guide them right to that video. So that's the text message that'll send it to all of our patients. And here's the email sample. So it has the first name, watch our 3-minute newsletter here, and then here's the topics. So with the email component, you can share a little bit more information. We don't include links for these other things if they want to watch it. Next time we might include it, because I got some people asking me, well, where are the links to this? We should have included some of those links to those other videos right here. That would have been easier. Instead of having them ask me on YouTube. So that's how we do it, and how we send it to the list. And then you can track it. As I showed you, 1,200 views. I think our list, I think it's like 15,000. I'm not exactly sure how many people we have on the list, but that's really easy to do within Athena or any medical record. Or what you can do is you can take your list and you can download it into any other email provider. So it's pretty easy. I want to go through a few tips, basically some mistakes I've made in the past when I'm doing these newsletters. The first tip would be if you can find someone to delegate it to, that would be a good idea. If you have a staff person that you can delegate it to, that would be great. They'll just kind of ask you for content and you can give them the content. Another key is within these newsletters, it's good to teach something of value, and you can reutilize content. You don't have to always make new content. So if you've made videos in the past, we all think, oh, it's just repetitive. Well, our patients, you have to tell them over and over and over again. Even if you've done a video or you've done a blog in the past, you can reshare that blog in the newsletter, and you just kind of highlight that or other things. The reason I started these actually was because we're starting a new office, and I wanted to update them on how our progress was. So beginning, it was just looking at the studs and looking at the sheetrock, and then it got painted, and now it's looking better and better. And so that's how the progress of these went monthly, and it's worked out well for our patients. And they comment when they come into the office, hey, I hear you're having a new office. They comment on viewing that. I recommend doing this in Google Slides versus PowerPoint. I just think Google Slides is a little bit easier to do when you're making them, and then you just kind of copy and paste it from one month to another. And this is something that's hard for all of us, in my opinion, is done is better than perfect. And with these slides, sometimes I've gotten some flack from the other people in our practice. It's not perfect. And I think and maybe that's my problem. I just kind of get stuff done and I send it out versus having it totally perfect. Because if you look for everything totally perfect, you're never going to send anything out. So if you are that person in your practice, maybe have someone else do it because it'll never get out. And but if you think this is hard with a 3-minute newsletter, imagine trying to write a newsletter once a month. Being perfect in terms of writing and everything like that would even be a little bit more challenging. And then I set a reminder in my calendar. So every first of the month, it sends a tickler for me to do this. And I pull up my Google Slides, which is really on every desktop that I'm working. And I can just pull in if there's something going on, if I take a picture or something like that. And then a little kind of a pro tip for those of you that are kind of high tech, because I know I was looking at those that are listening to the podcast and those that are listening to this, they tend to be younger. And I'm getting older, but I think they're younger than me, most of the people that are listening to this. And the tip would be something called otter.ia. You've never heard of that, Otter, OTTER.ia. It is a transcription service. So what you do is you link that to your Zoom. And if you record things on the cloud for Zoom, it'll automatically transcribe it. And that way you can add a transcription in your email or wherever you'd like it. And you can use that for keyword search. So it'll recognize the keywords in there and it'll transcribe it automatically. That's a kind of a pro tip. And then the other pro tip is using something called Hootsuite. And that's something that we use here that we don't use it as much as we probably should, but we can put things in there and it'll show what's showing up on your YouTube and other types of methods. So I want to just go in and show the screen one more time, what actually the workflow here to make it a little bit easier for you guys to see. What I do is I up on the bar here, and this is logged into every single treatment room, and I'll pull in the patient presentations, and I put everything under thumbnails. Now, these things I've told you about before. These are my patient presentations that I show based on diagnoses, and the thumbnails are right here. And I pull up the thumbnails. Actually, I think it's already open right here, and then I can edit it. And so I work on a couple of different projects. I think I'm ADD, everyone says. So these are the thumbnails for the interviews that I do. So with the different peoples with the people that I interview, and you can find all of those on podiatry.com. That's Presents website, but then you can also find them at Podiatry Practice Mastery. So these are all the thumbnails for the different people that I interview. I just do them quickly here, or I have a virtual assistant do that. Here are the when people ask questions, I make the thumbnail right here for the Ask Dr. Pelto ones, which it's really easy to do. A few tips, if you're doing it and you double click it, you can make a circle. I kind of like you can make a circle, it makes it look a little bit better. And then you kind of keep the same format, and all you do is you just copy it and you can paste it. So you can copy and paste it. That's real easy. A patient recently with this little black blood underneath the heel right here, I was going to do a quick little question on that. And then yeah, so that's how I do it with these things with the thumbnails. So you're always able to edit them, and you can download them and make them whenever you want. Specifically to the practice newsletter that we do, basically what I'll do for the next month is I'll copy and paste this right like this, and then I'll just switch the month to April, and that'll be the next one that's coming out. And then what I do is I just add the content underneath it. I'm still using this format, but I may switch it if I find a better way of doing it. But I'll just kind of put in, okay, what's the content this month? Basically, we're having a ribbon cutting ceremony tonight. And so I'm going to put a picture of the ribbon cutting, maybe a video, and then any other types of things we want to talk about with our patients. Okay, so that's how we do the 3-minute newsletter. We've done 3 or so episodes of it. It seems to be working well. I'd like to hear from anyone here. If anyone has any thoughts, if you're doing any video or video newsletters or anything that you guys want to comment. If there's no comments, I would invite you all to check out Podiatry Practice Mastery. You're going to see there's going to be the group sessions I'll put on there. I have the interviews there. And then eventually we're going to be putting some different courses based on kind of specific information that you guys are wanting. What I'm getting requests for and what we're doing in our office is information on like regenerative medicine, which have been some interviews on that, on orthotics, on shockwave, those are the different people that I'm trying to interview. So once again, thank you guys for your time and watching this this group session. Hope you found it beneficial. I'll stick around for a little bit, but I'm going to stop recording right now. Okay, thanks.